A lot of people ask me in the past about Tom Cruise, and I think a lot of people have known that Tom Cruise has done braces. I think he did braces quite later on in life when he was already a famous actor. And so a lot of people kind of point to him as, okay, is Tom a good example of my biomechanics theory? So first, before I answer that question, let's kind of go through a little bit of his history. So even back when I was a kid in the mid to late 80s, he'd already become quite a big star. Top Gun came out in 1986, and I'd done a little bit of research, and he'd even kind of fixed his teeth a little bit prior to Top Gun, because if you look back even before that, he played a character named Steve Randall in 1983 in The Outsiders, and his teeth were quite a bit worse in 83 than they were in 86 when he played Top Gun. So I tried to find out what he did before Top Gun, but there wasn't much information. But I don't think it was major dental work. I think he just removed the cap for the Outsiders movie and he put it back on, and he might have done some teeth whitening and a little bit of movement of the front teeth. But basically, when Top Gun came out, like, he had quite misaligned teeth, right? And you can see that in some of the photos of him in Top Gun. In the rest of the 80s and the 90s, I think Tom looked great. Right? Like, he had a great skull, great body. He was really in his prime throughout the 90s. And then in 2002, he did braces as an adult. So he was already 40 years old, right? And there was this, he went on to a David Letterman episode, and he told the story a little bit of how he took his kids to be checked by a dentist, and the dentist told him, "Hey, Tom, why don't you do braces? I think you benefit from braces." So Tom, it wasn't like, it didn't sound like it was Hollywood pressuring him. It was more him kind of talking to his dentist and saying, oh, maybe braces would be a good idea. And so he went for it. And I think the braces of 2002 is what really created the decline of Tom. So when I looked at a picture of him, I think he wore the braces for a while starting in 2002. By the time it was 2010, I was looking at this photo, like, I could already tell the soft tissue had gone much worse on his skull. So his features were less crisp. He didn't have that, like, nice inflated skull look that I often look for. Starting in 2012 until now, things got worse for him. So not just his face and skull got less symmetric, but also I think there are some signs in his personal life that, like, things may have been declining a little bit neurologically as well. There was his divorce from his wife, Katie Holmes, which, in and of itself says nothing. But the way that divorce happened and the way that his daughter, Suri, refused to speak to him, and kind of his wife went on about how he was just completely obsessed with the Church of Scientology, which, sounds a little bit weird, that I think that there are some other things going on in Tom's head that maybe he was not in complete control of. And so if you see him now at age 62 in 2024, he looks quite aged, right? And I compare this against other people that were kind of hunks of that era. So if you looked at, like, Brad Pitt, Sean Penn, they look quite a bit better. Not just facial symmetry, but their bodies. And so when you see Brad Pitt, there was a picture of him with a shirt off a little while ago, and he more or less looks like the same Brad Pitt he was in his 30s, like, still very tight, crisp body, and a very good looking guy. Whereas Tom, when he takes his shirt off now, like, you kind of see that he's this like old middle-aged fart looking guy, in my view. And you also see that his profile has really started to go recently. So, Tom always had this nice, crisp profile, and that is pretty much gone. I think what you're going to continue to see is Tom decline quickly, not just physically, but neurologically, cognitively. And what I've often seen happen with Hollywood actors is that as that happens, they kind of start to show up in less and less films, and they start to shy away from the camera more. And I have a feeling that that's coming with Tom.